Oh, I was 10 minutes late. Um, well, thanks for joining me right now. Um, let's talk about if you have any questions for me. Okay. General questions. If you have no question, I'd like to refer you to my playlist on YouTube. Seeing that I already recorded the at least two other previous meetings this week, and I uploaded up here, so you can take a look at that. But I know that I told the class, the group earlier this week that I would try to log on and see if I could play videos from Pearson lab. So let me see if I could do that. So let's see if it has, this menu has anything on A Rose for Emily. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna record the videos, playing it for you and recording it.
A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. William Faulkner was born in Lafayette County, Mississippi on September 25, 1897, and died there on July 6, 1962. His deep Southern heritage, especially his life in his hometown of Oxford, is evident in many of his works, and his short story, A Rose for Emily, is typical of his artistry in creating a landscape of modernist regionalism that serves to introduce readers to the post-Civil War South with its crumbling bastions of class consciousness and fossilized ideology. Faulkner's fictionalized township of Jefferson in the equally fictional Yoknapatawpah County embodies the Southern mores and customs the award-winning author presents in the short story that many critics consider to be his best, A Rose for Emily. After finishing A Rose for Emily, many readers won't forget the ending and that disturbing long strand of iron gray hair. From the short story's exposition with its description of Miss Emily's house, featuring faded cupolas and spires and scrolled balconies, to the discovery of Miss Emily's deadly, literally, secret, the reader is escorted through an imaginary Southern town that has all too real archaic practices. The edict of the mayor, Colonel Sartoris, that no Negro woman would appear on the streets without an apron, testifies to the influence of the discriminatory Jim Crow laws practiced in the South for a century after the Civil War. The narrator's heavy usage of we and our establishes the distinction between the townsfolk of Jefferson and one of the founding families, the Griersons. This perpetuation of elite favoritism creates a class consciousness. Though hardly anyone in Jefferson knew Miss Emily personally, the narrator states, "Our whole town went to her funeral." They did not so much out of respect, but out of curiosity. The narrator, like the nosy neighbor who knows everyone's business, chronicles Miss Emily's sheltered life. It is a life of seclusion only interrupted for a stint as a china painting teacher for children whose parents still valued the Grierson name. Although Miss Emily's life is lacking in drama, Faulkner makes it intriguing, and we keep reading to see if we can discover anything new about Jefferson's quirkiest resident, about this woman who, thank goodness, is much stranger, much lonelier, and much more dysfunctional than we. And when Miss Emily finally had some semblance of a romantic relationship, the folks were ready at the helm with their judgments. Miss Emily's reputation was then held up to scrutiny as the townspeople hid behind their jalousies to sneak a peek at her Yankee beau, Homer Barron, and Miss Emily riding in the glittering buggy. The collective tainting began as the gossipers disdainfully whispered about Miss Emily shirking her responsibility to be a good example. Yet, hadn't the town already given her the license to do whatever she wanted? Once the next generation's children stopped coming for painting lessons and her gentleman friend Homer had vanished, she became puffy, obese, and pale. Her ascetic life only trebled the locals' interest, especially after Homer deserted poor Miss Emily. As the pity for the jilted spinster grew, so did the oddity. 2 years after the death of her controlling father, who helped perpetuate the notion that no one was good enough for Miss Emily, and shortly after her love affair with Homer ended abruptly, a strange smell hovered around the place.
Okay, so here's the next article. Next article in the form of a video. But the previous one was the highlight part that I wanted to raise is the collective we, that we call that collective, first person collective, because the narrator is the townspeople themselves. Okay, the narrator is the story is told through the town people of Jefferson County.
Although the setting in A Rose for Emily is fictionalized, some of its practices aren't. The use of the pronouns we and our suggests a judgmental community, and thus a gulf between the reclusive, enigmatic Emily and the prying townsfolk grows. In section 2, the narrator offers this assessment of Miss Emily's behavior when, finally, 3 days after her domineering father has died, she stops insisting that her father was not dead, and then releases his body to the doctors. We did not say that she was crazy then. We believed she had to do that. We remembered all the young men her father had driven away. Despite Emily's resistance to accepting callers to become one of them, the ladies stopped by to offer condolences and offer home-cooked meals, as is our custom. Gifts in kind followed by scrutiny, that too was tradition in Jefferson. Yet this contrast is necessary in order to introduce Faulkner's carefully constructed person versus society conflict. Readers sense another glaring conflict, a person versus person battle between Emily and her deceased father. A crayon portrait of her father that sits in the parlor upon a tarnished gilt easel serves as a patriarchal shrine, an homage to the Grierson clan, of which Emily is the last survivor. Her father is given little physical description except for the iron gray hair that symbolically appears throughout the story, linking her inextricably to him. In the rising action, when she shows herself in public following the period of mourning for her father, her hair has been cropped short. Later, following the disappearance of her gregarious Yankee lover, Homer Barron, her hair begins to turn that vigorous iron gray, like the hair of an active man. And in the story's resolution, with the single long strand of iron gray hair upon the pillow, the hair that is Emily's is eerily akin to her father's. The overprotective father who shelters her from responsibility even beyond the grave with the mayor's tax pardon and the home and servant she inherits attest to a decayed, sedentary life that is as noticeable as the patient and biting dust that has settled upon the furnishings and draperies of her 19th century home built in the architectural style of the 70s. Cloistered not only in her home, she is sequestered in a time warp, and she cannot escape the iron grip her father has upon her. A basic Freudian psychoanalytical approach to this flint soul who cannot love disturbingly reveals that Emily is incapable of a healthy, loving relationship, and she must perform her affections upstairs, above the parlor, above the garish crayon portrait, and above the glaring eyes of the intrusive citizens of Jefferson. Any relief Emily may have felt with the passing of her controlling father was ephemeral, for the townsfolk remained. The folks and intrusions kept coming. First, the alderman demanding payment, then condolences, then a reluctant Baptist minister who vowed never to return, to offer a homily about how virtue should supersede desire, especially with a northern construction foreman, and later, cousins dispatched from Alabama, then 4 men who slunk about the house like burglars sniffing along the base of the brickwork as they spread the lime to mask the offensive odors emanating from the decaying home. This parade of neighbors, this cabal aiming to fortify themselves against this atypical resident, finally got what it had long craved, one last bit of juicy gossip. The final devastating intrusion, ending with the discovery of the corpse of the man himself, whose body had once lain in the attitude of an embrace, exposes more than a quirky spinster. There was indeed a mad woman in those lower rooms of the old Grierson place, whose insanity could not be cured by wealth, privilege, or outmoded social customs of honor.
Hopefully that interpretive video helps you see more meaning into the last line with that that here very shocking image that ends this story. This video is just about writing, responding to this short story.
Faulkner's disturbing portrait of Miss Emily Grierson can be discussed in terms of Sigmund Freud's theories of human personality and psychoanalysis. Very briefly, psychoanalysis is the practice founded upon Sigmund Freud's 1856-1939 belief that those with neuroses, disorders, could analyze or talk about their dysfunctional parts of their personality, hence the term psychoanalysis. In the world of literature, the literary theory of classic psychoanalytical critical analysis can be applied in several ways. In relationship to A Rose for Emily, we will take Freud's model of the human mind theory and apply it to Faulkner's character, Emily Grierson. Freud posited that the human mind and its dynamics are made up of 3 basic elements. The first is the id, those libidinal, natural desires everyone feels for such things as food, companionship, and sex. The second is the superego, the portion of the mind that curtails unrealistic fantasies imposed by society and morality. The third is the ego, which serves as the great negotiator. It tries to quell the id, not to the point of ending up a staid, squelched Puritan, but achieving instead a confident, well-adjusted personality with the id and superego in balance. With this brief background, if you look at the character of Miss Emily Grierson, where is she most imbalanced? A psychoanalytical approach to Miss Emily would reveal that she definitely had issues with her father, but what about the absence of her mother? She's never once mentioned in the story. An analytical approach to Emily would note that with the absence of her mother, any maternal affections were all concentrated upon a controlling father who screened, then rejected all of her suitors, claiming that none were good enough for her, without bothering to tell her who would be suitable. Is Miss Emily then so confused that this is what makes her such a recluse? In what other areas of the story do you find imbalances with Miss Emily? What about the townspeople? Collectively, what do they desire the most? Is it to feed their lust for gossip, for schadenfreude, or the pleasure of seeing someone else's downfall? Why is it that the townspeople can only show any sense of feeling for her now that she is, essentially, broke? What does this say about them? As you ponder these questions, try to see how illuminating Sigmund Freud's theory of psychoanalysis is when applied to A Rose for Emily.
What question do you have about A Rose for Emily in particular? One of the all-time canonical short story in literature, not only in English, but also world literature. It's world famous. Okay, so let's see if Cheever is here, and I doubt that Cheevers is here. So Cheever is that swimmer, the swimmer. So yeah, they have taken that story off. They as in Pearson lab here. So we don't have any videos for the swimmer this week. Let's go back to our syllabus and our canvas here. Looking ahead, we have the midterm exam next week, and I've already put up the information about that, including a sample solution. Okay, so take a look at the task description and accompany sample solution to study for your to prepare for your midterm exam number 1. And even though it's called midterm, which can be a little bit daunting and intimidating, it's actually not. This assignment is almost a fail-safe assignment if you do it. Okay, go ahead.
Do we have a week to do that?
Yes, you have a week to do this. So actually, you're given the prompt now. Okay, so this is the prompt for the midterm. So the midterm exam itself is due next Sunday. So you have more than a week to work on this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. So the sample solution here gives you some clues as to how to go about analyzing and coming up with a thesis statement. So take a look at this useful sample solution handout, and then it doesn't have any essay attached to it, but at least it does have the pre-write shown here and the outline. So you can create your pre-write and your outline to with this in your mind, or you can follow it to do yours. So the final draft and the pre-write and outline are going to be together, and it will be all submitted at all at once, and it's going to be next Sunday. And when I grade it, it's very much like the diagnostic essay. If you are given if I give you a 4 or 3.5 or higher, that means you get full credit. And the scoring guide is found under Website Discussions Forum, with the first task. This is the scoring guide that I use to grade all your midterm exams, and the final exam is going to be graded based on this as well. So our 3 midterms are practices for the final. Okay, then I don't know if anyone new has posted, so I can pair. Let me check first to pair people. If you haven't posted your draft for the fiction essay, you should now, because it's due today. Okay, the first draft to your fiction essay is due today. So go ahead and, oh yeah, Bao has posted. And so whoever posts whoever posts below you, Bao, would be your peer, okay? So check back tomorrow morning or later on tonight to see if anyone else has posted. I will do that as well because I need to pair people so that they can do the peer revision, peer reviewing, and scoring using this scoring guide. So the way that you would score the fiction essay is read the essay and see if it matches. It does have these basic 4, 5, or 6, right? So does it follow the task description? Does it have good development and support for the thesis? You know, so you can try to look at the scoring guide and give it a grade or a score, which is the first task here. Okay, and then after that, then you can give them some useful feedback that you see as you go along reading it. So let's see. Wow, people are really creative with the last task, with the flash fiction. Nice. But people seem to be like neglecting the the peer workshop task. Unfortunately, this task, if you neglect it, you lose out 20 points. So hopefully somebody will post after you, Bao. Otherwise, I have nobody to pair you with. In that case, I guess I can make an exception and ask you to ask some other people to help you out, and you would also peer edit that person. So I'll check back tomorrow and see. Actually, I will, after the meeting ends, I will post an announcement to remind people to post their first draft. Actually, I'll do that now, you know, so that I don't forget. Okay, so that reminder hopefully works so that more people will post their drafts and hear you. And the rest of the tasks are here, and you can get more time working on them if you need to. So besides this first task here on peer workshop, which is time sensitive, the other task, if you post them later on and you miss the deadline, which is this Sunday, it still be okay. I mean, it will. I will still accept your legwork and grade it. So this is due on Sunday. That's due on Sunday. Now this is only the pre-write and the outline in part 4 for response number 2 on a rose for Emily. Okay, so you've seen 3 videos on this, and hopefully those videos have assisted you in this pre-write and outlining assignment on a roster Emily. We're doing 3 quizzes, which are closed tonight. So if you haven't gotten a chance to get them done, please do them now. That will be it for week 5. Can I help you with anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Theodore, you're good too, right? I have. Okay, well, good luck, gentlemen, and I will talk to you next week. Take care.
Do you call attendance?
Oh, yes. Whoops. Thank you. Super easy today, only 2 people. Hold on. Easy as in taking attendance. The Zoom recording will be available to you momentarily. So if you need to watch the videos again on a Rose for Emily, you can. All right, thank you guys, gentlemen.
Thanks.